President Trump yesterday is a total betrayal of him and those who elected him. It was as though they left him without arms to swim in a sea of sharks, risking our health and safety. Now, I told you a long time ago that the establishment was anti-Trump. Remember how panicked they were when it looked like he would actually win the nomination? The party elders petrified because he was beholden to no one. And in spite of their backslapping and glad handling, they just proved that they still are. Once he was elected, the establishment's mission was to make sure that he did not succeed. Candidate Donald Trump ran on a promise to build a border wall. And in 2017, January, Speaker Paul Ryan and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell promised to build that wall with $15 billion. The bill they presented had only $1.6 billion, short more than $13 billion. And they specifically precluded the use of that money for the wall prototypes the president looked at in California. Now, this betrayal should be no surprise. Ryan and McConnell never cared about his succeeding. 2 months after he was elected, Ryan failed to deliver votes on the health care bill, the one that he had 7 years to work on, the one that Ryan hid under lock and key in the basement of Congress, the one they pulled because of the embarrassment of not having enough votes to pass it when they had the House, the Senate, and the Oval. So why did the president sign this bill?
We looked at it a veto. I looked very seriously at the veto. I was thinking about doing the veto, but because of the incredible gains that we've been able to make for the military, that overrode any of our thinking.
The first order of government is the protection of its citizens. This bill included $700 billion to shore up the military, so destroyed, devalued, and diminished by Barack Obama. As Obama took the Army down to World War II levels, North Korea was launching ICBMs with nuclear war tips, threatening Guam, Hawaii, and all Americans. Meanwhile, Iran spinning centrifuges, allegedly for nuclear medicine, while at the same time threatening the extermination of both Israel and America. And Russia, now in possession of 20% of our uranium, thanks to Bubba and his wife, continuing to build their nuclear arsenal. So faced with this triad, the president chose to put our defense in the strongest position to protect us and to protect our service members. Our arsenal will now include the stealth F-35 bombers that literally are invisible to the enemy. You know, any leader's success is based upon the ability to take action and get results. It's what Trump does. It's what he did with deregulation. It's what he did by removing the individual mandate in the tax reform bill. It's what he just did with bump stocks. These guys funded the sanctuary cities, the ones that protect illegal criminals, risking the life and safety of American citizens like Kate Steinle. Sanctuary cities where federal and local law enforcement are pitted against each other. And they funded Planned Parenthood that performs more than 300,000 abortions a year at a cost of $500 million a year. Congress prefers rogue cities where illegal criminals are protected and Americans at risk. Congress prefers no border wall so illegals can cross bringing poisonous drugs that take the lives of over 1,000 Americans a week. That's what I said, 1,000 Americans a week. And while we pay for border walls for those in Tunisia and Libya, Americans will suffer a plague of drug overdoses from illegal drugs that come into this country from Mexico. 90% of the heroin used in this country comes through the southern border. And although we are only 5% of the world's population, we use 80% of its opioids, with a potency 50 times that of heroin and 100 times that of morphine. The one the establishment is not willing to build a wall to stop. The one that the Congress is killing more than 1,000 of us a week by not building the wall. Opioids and illegal drugs coming from Mexico. Folks, these are double-talking, two-faced politicians who care only about themselves, lobbyists, their contributions, and the next election. So here we are. Democrats crowing that they funded sanctuary cities, Planned Parenthood, and only $1.6 billion for a see-through wall while they kept out DACA, which the president was willing to give them so that Democrats can use it against him in the upcoming election. Folks, I want to be real clear. This is not on President Trump. This is on the leadership of the Republican Party, the very people this president should be able to count on. In truth, the president is surrounded by inept, incompetent warriors, and this bill is a reflection of just that, total betrayal by the Senate and House leadership. How dare these Republicans play politics with our lives and the lives of our children with all this namby-pamby nonsense about their security border. The president and the people who voted for him have been betrayed by Speaker Paul Ryan and Leader Mitch McConnell. And the people in Kentucky and Wisconsin need to make sure that these guys are defeated in the next election so this president can carry on the agenda that we elected him to do. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page and Twitter and at Instagram, #Judge Jeanine. All right. Here with reaction to the rallies across the country today, as well as all of the other developing stories this week, White House Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley. All right, good evening, Hogan. We saw a lot of young kids out there today marching, protesting. They want gun control. What does the president think of all this, and what is this administration going to do?
Well, first of all, it's a school safety march is what we were told, right? Not a gun control march. But
well, I guess it's called March for Our Lives.
Right, absolutely. I saw some of the signage out there. I looked on Twitter. I was around some of the protesters. I saw their signs. Clearly a gun control march, not a school safety march. That being said, the president obviously respects the First Amendment, but he also respects the Second. One of the things, the significant victories actually in this omnibus package were two pieces of legislation, the Fix NICS piece of legislation, also the Stop School Violence Act. Both of those were funded under this bill. As you know, and you've chronicled extremely well in your show, with the Parkland shooting, a systematic failure at the local, the state, and the federal levels of government. These two pieces of legislation in the omnibus work to shore up some of the problems because there is no conversation, no communication between the local level and the federal level as it relates to background checks. These close these loopholes and hopefully will prevent people from ever getting a firearm who don't need to have a firearm again.
Okay. Now, the president, as I just said in my open, signed a $1.3 trillion spending bill after threatening to veto it. And he was very clear. He said, I will never sign a bill like this again. He even threatened to veto it. He didn't want to sign it, so why did he?
Well, he signed it because it fulfills one of the campaign promises he made while on the campaign trail, which, as you know, was to rebuild the military. You articulated it beautifully in the open, which was Barack Obama dismantled what we had as far as protection in this country. The number one job of the federal government is to protect the American people. They weren't building new equipment under Barack Obama. They were rebuilding and fixing old, broken down equipment. This bill goes to rebuild our military. It actually gives the largest pay raise to our troops, who well deserve that for the first time in about 10 years. There were some significant victories here. And the wall, as you mentioned, it wasn't everything we wanted, but there are political realities that exist in this town. We have to have 60 votes to pass a funding bill in the Senate. The Republicans don't have that. The president looked at it and said, I want to rebuild the military. The Democrats said, fine, you rebuild the military. We're going to hold the military hostage. Every dollar you tell me you want for the military, we insist on basically a dollar for dollar exchange for our pet projects here at home. The president didn't want to do it, but the president did it because rebuilding the military, protecting this nation is his first and foremost job.
And, you know, for the viewers out there saying to themselves, well, you know, she just said we have the House and the Senate and the Oval. The truth is the rules, you know, you need to have 60. And, you know, we don't have a line-by-line veto, as the president indicated yesterday, because the Supreme Court has said it's unconstitutional and we would need a constitutional amendment.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. And that's the political reality I alluded to earlier. You can't just come in and govern by fiat. You've got to get things accomplished. And the problem is when you have Democrats in the Senate who used to be for border control, they used to be for security, they used to be for the military, used to be for tax cuts and jobs, used to be for manufacturing, and for whatever reason, they've turned away from that. Look, you talked about the wall earlier, I just talked about it now. The fact of the matter is, this problem with immigration has gotten worse. since the Democrats used to be for it. The only thing that's changed in the last 10 years with immigration and border security is the problem's worse and Donald Trump's in the White House, which tells me it's purely political for them. They didn't want DACA at all.
Right.
You saw what the president...
It's amazing.
You couldn't believe what the president offered them on the table. Three times what Obama wanted. Right, and they still didn't want it. It shows they want it as a political football. They're playing politics with people's lives. It's grotesque.
All right, Hogan Gidley, thanks so much for being with us tonight. And joining me now live from New York, conservative columnist and author, the one and only Ann Coulter. How are you, Ann?
Deeply depressed, and you?
I am certainly concerned, but let's talk about why you're depressed.
Well, listening to your opening statement, I was thinking to myself, oh, I wish I could believe that. I wish I could believe there's still hope. I can't see any way to sugarcoat what a disaster this is. I mean, there are 24 Republicans in the Senate who voted against the omnibus spending bill, and about half of them did it for the right reason, like Senators Tom Cotton and David Perdue and Ron Johnson and a few others. So, you know, maybe we can run them for president. But there was only one guy who said at every speech, at every rally for 2 years, that he would build the wall. And he has now signed a bill to prohibit the building the wall. You know, you say that he did it, and he claims he did it, although I note the Wall Street Journal said he did it because he wanted to go to Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, that's baloney.
That's your corporate newspaper.
No, it's not my corporate anything. This guy is the hardest working guy who's ever been in that White House. He doesn't sleep, and he works day and night. But, you know,
it didn't pay off here.
You know why? Because the Republicans didn't care enough.
No, but we knew that. We knew that from Trump's campaign. We knew they were swine. We thought he was perhaps not the world's greatest negotiator, but a negotiator. And we got nothing. Chuck Schumer's flack is tweeting out, we're getting tired of winning. And this business about how he did it to protect, you know, national defense and how important it is. There is no more crucial attack on our national defense than the fact that we don't have a wall. More people are dying, as you were saying in your opening statement, more people are dying every year from heroin and fentanyl overdoses than died each year than died in the entire course of the Vietnam War. And that is 100% because we do not have a wall at our border. I mean, if I thought there were any hope, there are things Trump can do. Somebody's got to, you know, brush up on the Constitution. He's the commander-in-chief. It's his job to protect our borders.
What can he do? How can he do it? Now, given what he's got, how can he do that? And by the way, you can't make light of North Korea with the wackadoo over there, Rocket Man. You know, you can't. No, and Iran, who's committed to destroying us.
North Korea, look, for Trump to be saying, and if China won't deal with North Korea, we will. It's on the order of the premier of China saying, and if America won't deal with Mexico, we will. North Korea is China's problem. Mexico's our problem.
Except North Korea is threatening to kill us, not China.
They're not going to do that. That's crazy.
Were you with the basketball player with Dennis Rodman? You in on some private talks?
No, but I've seen the missiles. They go like that.
What can the president do? What can the president do as commander-in-chief?
On the day after his inauguration, it's his authority under the Constitution that cannot be taken away from him by any legislature, by any court. I'm quite confident the Supreme Court would uphold this, to defend our borders. I mean, he has the last war that had a declaration of war from Congress in it was World War II. And we engage in a lot of military actions around the world. I think it can be done right on our border as part of the defense. Have the Seabees do it.
Okay, so where does he get the money? Where does he get the money to build the wall that you say he can build as national defense? Where does he take the money from?
The same place Reagan took the money to invade Grenada, the same place he took the money to bomb Syria. He has money to spend on national defense, and this is a much bigger problem of national defense. This is our people being attacked with chemical warfare, not allegedly, you know, Syrians.
And what about DACA, real fast? I know immigration's a big issue for you. I mean, even the Democrats didn't want DACA, and he was willing to give it away. What's that about?
I don't think he should have been willing. I mean, I think the opening gambit should be, we'll talk about DACA when we have a wall, but I'll leave that aside since now we have no funding for a wall and no funding for sanctuary cities, and he's only supposed to paint fences down by the San Diego border. I mean, it's unbelievable. They wouldn't even give him money for new Border Patrol agents. They wouldn't give him money for detention facilities, but all of this can be done under his powers as commander-in-chief if he cared and if he wanted to do it. Unfortunately, I think the fact that he signed this omnibus bill is the last straw, and this just says he never wanted to do it.
Disagree, but Ann Coulter, it's always good getting your perspective. All right, and Sarah Carter stops by Justice for tonight's panel. That's ahead.